வாழ்க்கையில் பிடிப்பேதும் இல்லை எனக்கு. இல்லை, எந்த புகாரும் கூட. நான் அசடும் அல்ல, அதை வெறுக்கும் அளவுக்கு. ஆனால் இன்று இளமையின் அந்தி மாலையில் மௌனத்தின் ஒரு கரையில் நிற்கிறேன் நான். இரக்கமற்ற காலம் பெருக்கெடுத்து ஓடுகிறது, நூற்றாண்டுகளில் சமைந்துவிட. தனிமை பெய்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது மழையாக மறுக்கரையில். ஓ என் இனிய நண்பர்களே, கவிஞர் நசீர் கேட்கிறான், வாழ்க்கை என்பது தனிமை, மௌனம், இதை தவிர வேறு என்னதான் என்று.
Give me a question to start.
Throw me a question. What was your first impression about the film? How you felt just after watching the film?
Seeing Nasir was a very nice experience. It was definitely one of the more memorable films, which made a strong impression at the festival this year. I didn't see a lot, but of what I saw, this really, really stood out. The way that it took its time, and it was so self-assured but not self-conscious. It was nice to see something so something which was just trying to exist in a certain space and time, and not necessarily to take us there, but just be there with it, and to have us there with that space and time and those people. And I really liked that sound. In terms of music, there was only music when it was time for music, and there was sort of reserved pockets of space where that was where the music played, you know? This was interesting because I saw something similar with use of music in a couple of other films at the festival this year, but not quite in this same way, because here it was really, I felt like in the other films where music had such a prominent role and where like full songs were allowed to play out, for example, the action of those films paused and then the music played. But here it wasn't so separate. It was like this was just the part of the film dedicated to this piece of music, and even when it didn't play all the way through, it was allowed to really be a part of it in a special way. Visually, it was very poetic. It was very nice to see this, especially from such a young filmmaker. I say young, I mean I'm the same age, but and I'm a filmmaker. I consider myself a filmmaker, but what I was seeing here from someone of my same age was so complete and so ready, and that's something I haven't been able to reach even in the short form yet, personally. So it was very inspiring to see that. And this scene with there's a scene where he goes to the mosque and prays. This affected me, I think, the most of the film. It's very sensitive, very fragile, but still strong somehow. You know, it was fragile in the sense that you can. I guess fragile is not the right word, but it was delicate. But you have the sense that it's still holding together very, very strong. You have this shot of reflection on the water, which was just so peaceful and brings us first into the mosque. You know, it's just the shot of the water. It's not like a shot of the mosque or the entrance of something. It's this water to put us into the rhythm and the mindset, and then we see him washing and then going to pray, and the hands as tools of devotion, and the way they're presented, all of it was just so, I want to say clean. It was clean, and it was strong, delicate, and clean. And the rest of the film, I think, carried the same kind of tone and rhythm throughout very well. There were a few minor exceptions where I felt that I lost the rhythm briefly. I don't know if it had more to do with me or the film itself, but for the most part it was amazing to see it all so cohesive and so well put together.
Where do you see this film in the range of films that you watch worldwide? What kind of impression it gave you? Do you think it's original or it's in itself, or it has its influences?
I think it's clear that it has some influences, but what's different about this in terms of a film from a young filmmaker is that generally the influences are usually more obvious. You see certain things which are taken maybe more literally or obviously or framed in the same way, so that you almost feel that the director wants you to think of this other director from the past, so that then you kind of hold their new film together with this established framework. But what was different in Nasir for me was that I felt influences, but I could not say at any point, this is clearly inspired from so and so. But instead that I really felt a kind of essence of older works and masterful works kind of dripping in, maybe subconsciously, but they were, adapted and presented with the voice of the director of Nasir instead of someone trying to emulate someone else.
You mentioned briefly the scene where he's going to mosque resembles other films. And how do you see this? How you felt during this?
Yeah, the thing of the hands as devotional tools had me think a bit about Bresson and about Dorsky and Dorsky's writing, devotional cinema, and the way he talks about Bresson. I felt some resonance there. I don't know necessarily that it didn't feel lifted again. It felt that perhaps through this kind of genealogy, the idea was passed down and it's being carried forward.
Would you call this a realist film, or is it lifting up a little bit above realism? Where does it lie?
I would say something more like poetic realism. Yeah. I mean, everything is realistic, but it's framed poetically. Also on the visuals, while watching it, I could have sworn it was shot on film. So I was very impressed to learn it was shot on the digital Bolex. And that was exciting to me too, because I had heard so much about this camera and seen kind of just test footage, but I had never seen an actual film shot on it. So that was very nice, and I thought the results were very impressive. Thank you.
അയ്യോ അയ്യോ